And thank you once again for joining us today. So we hope this meeting offers you new knowledge, useful insights, and a deep understanding of mental health in everyday life. And now I'm glad to invite our first speaker, Zoe, to begin.
Hello everyone. Thank you very, very much for this invitation. I'm very happy to see you all and from different places. So let me see. You're not imagining it. How to recognize psychological pressure and protect yourself. Okay, I am a psychologist. Let's start there. I'm an organizational psychologist, which means I collaborate with businesses and everything that has to do with workplace stress, mobbing, bullying in the workspace, all these effects of people. But I also worked in the hospital years ago. And what I have found is that everyone understands when there is psychological pressure. There's not even one single person that doesn't know that they're experiencing pressure right now. What happens is, do we act on it or not? There are people who act on it immediately, and that's exactly what helps them. And then there are others that are in denial, and they might start saying, oh no, I'm not actually stressed. It doesn't have to do with me. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine. This is a very usual defense mechanism that we see. People denying the true emotions. So I would say that's where the problems start. Psychological pressure and stress on their own is not really an issue. There are professions and situations where being in stress can actually be even helpful. For example, imagine a doctor at the ER. This is a very high tense environment, and this kind of stress that they're experiencing, this dopamine high, is what helps them make fast decisions, save lives practically. So this type of stress is actually helpful. On the other hand, there is another kind of stress that just freezes you. This is the type of stress that we don't want. Being frozen, not moving anymore, and being indecisive, and not allowing ourselves to actually make a choice so we can move on. So first of all, we need to be able to separate the stress that I'm feeling right now. Is it good kind of stress, the stress that pushes me to my limits and helps me grow? Or is it a bad kind of stress that actually freezes me and doesn't allow me to connect, doesn't allow me to build? Let's say now that we reflect and we realize that the stress that we have is actually problematic stress, and we need to act on it. The question here is, this type of stress that I'm feeling, does it have a date? Does it have a specific reason? Does it have a deadline? Because sometimes, again, let's say I have my final exams for school. Of course I'm stressed. This is a very important milestone. It makes sense that you're stressed, but it has a deadline. You know, this is the exam, it finishes, I'm moving on. So this kind of stress, it might be intense, but still, I wouldn't say it's not really problematic, and it's not the kind of stress that's going to lead to burnout. The problem is when it's generic, when you can't pinpoint it, when you're not sure what's stressing you, when you're not sure when it ends. So first, I have to realize good stress, bad stress. Second is, this kind of stress, is it specific? Does it have a deadline? Or it doesn't have a deadline? It's very generic. And let's say it's the bad kind of stress. It's very generic. It doesn't have a deadline. At this point, I think that you need to start observing what triggers this stress. What is it? Like there is a point when your mood shifts. At that point, you need to take a mental checkout and say, give me 5. Go and reflect. What happened in the last moments that caused this shift in your mood, in your emotions? It can be something small that someone said. It can be a thought that passed through your head. It can be something that you show. Understanding and being able to pinpoint these triggering things is extremely helpful, because then you have a point of reference as to where you should focus, what you should change, what you should probably even ask help with. The second thing I have to say here is that it really, really helps having someone to talk to. Especially peer level helps a lot. Having friends, having other people that are going through the same stress, maybe this is extremely helpful, because something that you're going to realize maybe later in life is that we have two types of emotions. We have first level emotions, let's say, simply speaking, and then we have meta emotions, which is the emotions we have for our emotions. That means that I can be stressed and I might be okay with being stressed, because I might say, okay, yeah, it's an intense period. It's normal that I'm stressed. But I can also be angry because I'm stressed, believing that maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I might feel even humiliated because I'm stressed, thinking that someone else would handle this thing better. I might be sad because I'm stressed. And the problem when we develop meta emotions about our emotions is that we end up focusing on how to address the meta emotions, and we might never reach the original thing, the actual thing that's problematic and creating the issues for us. So I think that venting really helps. Having a support system helps. Trying to separate the original feeling from the meta feeling helps. Not being afraid to ask for help from experts, from psychologists, therapists, teachers, mentors later in life, also people who can offer a new perspective. This is extremely helpful. Being open to feedback, being in a position where you can get people's feedback and integrate it into your life without feeling threatened by it and without it causing an identity crisis. And I would like to hear from you now if you have more specific questions about stress or anything you want.
Yeah, Zoe, thank you very much. Could you please tell us more about differentiating bullying from mobbing? Because often young people don't know the difference between these two terms, and they're different. So
they're very different, because actually mobbing is a workplace bullying. So like the thinnest of the differences is this, that mobbing is a term that originally was developed about workplace bullying. So when we talk about teenagers, school environments, student years, we usually refer to as bullying. And then when we talk about workplace, we refer to it as mobbing. A big difference is that mobbing has different characteristics. For example, we mob someone at work, but the goal is for them to be fired or for them to quit. When people are mobbing someone, and it can be one person that's mobbing another person, but the reason we use the word mobbing, which means mob is, do you know the English word mob? It's too many people all together attacking someone. It's because from the academic standpoint, the people who are bystanders and are watching this happen have also to be at fault. They also are they also have an issue there. It's not just about the person actively harassing someone. It's also about all these other adults in the workspace who are watching this person being harassed and allow it. While bullying, usually it's in school environments and it has to be more of a one-to-one situation. It can also, again, be more, but it's not necessarily that when a kid bullies another kid, they want them to leave the school. It starts from completely different places. It's not necessarily a strategic agenda. It can be anger issues. It can be that this kid is different, so the other people feel that their identity is being threatened. So it starts from different places. In any case, they're both very bad. So, and they have changed also over the years. For example, nowadays in work environments, what we need to solve for is more often cyber mobbing than actual mobbing. It's much rarer to actually see day-to-day harassment in the workplace, because now there are specific laws, there are HR trainings, so people know how to disguise these things better. But then when it comes to cyberbullying, cyber mobbing, it's completely different.
thank you. Yeah, we see there's a really difference that sometimes we cannot see, and it really affects the situation. Also, you mentioned the harassment. could you please talk more about it? How to distinguish like a bad joke from a real violation of your personal space and more serious situation?
If it annoys you, it might not be harassment, but it's for sure is tasteless. So you should still set your boundaries. Harassment usually does start from bad jokes. It's very rare that someone will start harassing someone out of nowhere 100%. Usually it starts slowly building up with bad jokes and then passive aggression, which then turns into resentment, which then escalates into actual harassment and abuse. So what I would have to say here is go with your instinct. The person that doesn't want to hurt you, when you mention that, oh, by the way, this I found hurtful, immediately will retract. They will never try to gaslight you. They will never tell you, oh, maybe you're too sensitive. The person who generally doesn't try to cross your boundaries, they will say, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't think about it like that. It won't happen again. And they will try to understand you and hear you. So if it is to remember one thing about harassment, is that it escalates. And that's why always the bad behaviors, we need to burn them from the root, as we say, just like bad weed. You stop it the first time you see it. The joke you didn't appreciate, the giggle that you find insulting. You need to be addressing it the moment it happens, because only when it first happens, you have the mental clarity to address it with dignity and with the intensity that is appropriate to the situation. Usually when you leave something and it happens and it happens and it happens more and more and it escalates, it also escalates into your head. And sometimes, by the way, someone might be violating you and they might have no idea. They might be from a different culture or they have different value system. Not every behavior that is problematic for you is objectively problematic or is actually aiming at making you feel bad. Some people are just maybe more extrovert, for example, and they have a style that's not matching yours. In these situations, it's extremely, and actually in these situations is even more important to set your boundaries clearly very early on by addressing the thing that you don't like, because that's how you also give people the opportunity to either actually hear you and change their behavior or ignore you, and then you know that this needs to be checked again. Either this person is actually violating and abusive and they just keep escalating, or they just, sometimes some people are just too much. And especially when they don't think that the thing that annoys you is not important, they might still keep doing it and still not necessarily mean malice. There's a difference between making insulting jokes in a passive-aggressive setting and, for example, taking your pen. Although, like, you both can annoy you, but maybe in the one case, if it's not stopped, there is malice. But in the other, maybe it's just a person who's all over the place and they grab the first pen they see. Does this make sense?
Yeah, very much. And it really clearly said that harassment escalates. I think it's really important to understand. And thank you for the advices. I think it's really easy to use them because it's clearly that we need to stand our point and eliminate the problem from the root. I think it's really valuable from you. You also mentioned gaslighting. Could you please describe what it is, in what environment and situation it can appear? Because we know that it's imagining, when people say you're imagining things or it's never happened. And also, like, what to do in the situations when you've been told that it's not true.
Okay. First of all, gaslighting is a term that is coined around the 50s from a movie that's called Gaslight. And what was happening in this movie is that there was this woman who was married to a man. And this man, if I remember correctly, he wanted to basically steal all her money. So he was trying to drive her crazy. And what he would do is, for example, he would turn on and off the lights in the house so that she thinks that the house is haunted. And when she would start panicking and say, oh my God, what happens? The lights are flickering. She would say, no, they're not flickering. Nothing's happening. It's in your head. Are you seeing things? And that's why it's called gaslight. So basically, gaslighting is when someone is denying reality the way it is and the way you perceive it, and they're trying to convince you that no, you perceive it in a wrong way, or that you have prejudice against them. So they're pushing you away from falling on your hunches and your instincts. Unfortunately, I would say that, first of all, to which people does it work? Because it doesn't work on anyone. The more confident the person is and the more self-worth they have, the harder it is to be gaslighted. The people who are very confident, no matter how hard you try to gaslight them, they will tell you, no, I see the lights. No, maybe you don't see correctly. Maybe we should have your eyes tested. So confident people are not being gaslighted. The people who are being gaslighted is the people who have been gaslighted from very early on in life, usually since the children years. And it's not necessarily that parents mean bad. I'll give you an example. Let's say we have a young boy and he wants to play basketball. And one day he comes back home and he says, oh my God, I'm the worst in the basketball team. See, he's the worst in the basketball team. And then his mom and his dad, they say, why do you talk like this about yourself? You're not the worst. No, you're not the worst. You can, of course, you're good and you did this and that. But he is the worst. So they try, in a sense, to help him feel better. But what happens is they invalidate reality the way this child understands reality. So just because they tell him you do well, he's not going to start doing well. So what's going to happen is that he will start questioning whether the way he perceives the world is actually correct or not. Soon and slowly, this child is going to be feeling less confident about how they understand things. And they will be saying, yeah, maybe, but maybe also not. Maybe I should ask someone. And the more this happens in time, the more you learn to question your instincts. Yeah.
Wow, we never imagined that there's such a long story behind the term. It actually went from the movie. And you're actually right that it really depends on the confidence of the person, because if the person is super confident, it's really hard to doubt their own sanity, is it right or wrong.
Yeah.
So it's a really good point.
I say the stronger the instinct, the more important it is to follow up on it. And something that's important about all of these situations, we talked about stress, we talked about mobbing, bullying, harassment, gaslighting. The one thing that makes a change is to put it out there bluntly, openly, with transparency, verbally, to call it out. Not suggest it, not imply it, not think that, oh yeah, but they should understand that I was stressed from my look. They should understand that I didn't appreciate the joke and what they said from the fact that I haven't said good morning to them for the last 1 month. People respond to language. And there is a reason why, as humans, we moved from drawing in the walls to having millions of languages and more than 50 sign languages. Drawing on the walls is not enough. It was not enough. So when you actually want something to change, you need to say it. You will find a way to say it. Everyone has a for some people, full on directness is the best. For me, humor works a lot. I have a way to usually say exactly what I need to say in the intensity, but like while joking about it. But they take it. For others, it can be, I don't know, sending letters. As long as it's put into words and the other side gets the message, all good.
Thank you very much. I feel this was really helpful to young people, and you covered all the most important topics with bullying, mobbing, harassment, and gaslighting. Really, I never imagined that gaslighting goes from the terms all the back into the history in the last century. So I'll say thank you very much. Let's all thank Zoe with applause.
I find it very funny that you're so young that you think that the 50s are like so far away.
I know,
It's
yeah.
so far away, but yeah, it's far away, but yeah. Okay.
Maybe not that far away, but if we think about it, it's not 10 years, not 20, a little bit more, yes. So thank you, Zoe, for joining us from Greece, for such a clear and insightful presentation. I can tell you helped us better understand the subtle and often invisible dynamics in the groups that we cannot really often see or understand, and how important it is to recognize and to respond to them with our language, not just with some science that cannot be understood without talking.
Thank you very much for the invitation. All the best to everyone. If someone else also has any question, by all means, now's your time. I'll be very happy to answer it. Or you can reach out in private also. I've seen that this works also sometimes in case you want to share something later. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Zoe, for joining. Does anyone have question? Okay, so maybe not for now, but we're really grateful for you to join us. It was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
It was lovely. We can all agree. And now let's move on to the next part of our presentation. Okay, I hope you all can see the screen. But before we dive into today's discussion on emotional disconnection in digital spaces, I'd like to share with you like a brief quiz that you can take at any moment. Like it's not a test, but a mirror. So a small way to notice how present or absent we are in our online lives. So just by several questions, you can understand how addicted you to social media or online world. So you can take screenshot of the screen and take the test later, or do it right now. It's really short. So I hope you all saved it. If anything, I will share it with you later as well. And please welcome our next speaker, Lamia. So she's a psychology student, YouTube speaker, and founder of the art studio, which means listen to yourself. I translated the name, it's just wonderful. And Lamia is passionate about exploring the inner world of emotions and human behavior, and she shares thoughtful reflection talks that connect psychology with everyday experience. That's just wonderful. And today, Lamia will presenting virtual escape when the mind locks out of emotion. So a deep dive into how we disconnect emotionally in digital and virtual spaces, and what that means for our inner well-being. So please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you very much, Maria. Do you hear me? My voice is better or not?
The voice is not perfect,
That's
but I see some
okay.
people can hear you, so it's not a problem. I see reactions.
If you hear me, please write the chat. Okay, maybe 1 minute. Okay, now you hear me?
It's actually better, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me share my presentation.
Okay, so I'll stop my sharing, and I think now you have it. Yes, great.
It's visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Haqverdili Lamiyə. I'm currently a psychology student at Haqverdili University from Azerbaijan. Actually, my camera down the computer, so I look at the screen. That's why I struggle to make eye contact because I look at the screen. So let's start. Actually, this presentation explores how digital behaviors like scrolling, smartphone use can lead like emotional disconnection, and also how digital disconnection strategies can help us like regain the balance. So let's start. Introduction. In today's world, digital media is part of almost every moment of our lives, as you know. And we use our smartphones not only for the communication, and also for relaxation, for distraction, and even emotional coping. And however, today's research demonstrate that actually these kind of behaviors are not just their habits. Also, they can have the psychological effects on our brain, our emotions, attention, and sense of the ourself. So let's talk about firstly what is the virtual escape. Virtual escape, psychological withdrawal into digital environment, and people often turn to their phones to avoid their daily life stress, their negative emotions, and the real life responsibility, as you know. And this make us feel like the relief, but it's like short-term relief. Firstly, we feel like the relief, but over time, it creates disconnection from the real world and between the virtual world. So this leads to disconnection from real world, as you know. That's why we couldn't, and we struggle to touch our own feels, to feel our selves as who we are in real world. So let's start with what is the doom scrolling. One of the most common forms of the virtual forms of escape is the doom scrolling. And this is the compulsive consumption of the negative content in Instagram or TikTok. And this creates a negative feedback loop. And this leads to some effects, negative effects, like the anxiety, hopelessness, emotional numbness. Even though it is not actually officially classified as an addiction, smartphone overuse, but it shows similar patterns like the addiction, actually, because leads to sleep problems, poor attention, or use smartphones, and emotional dysregulation. So move on the digital disconnection, dissociation. What is that? We can define that disconnection from thoughts, our emotions, and digital immersion. These signs can be time distortion. You lose track of time, and you feel like the foggy, emotional foggy in your mind. And this also leads to reduced self-awareness. You lose sense of the self. For example, you can imagine you scroll the Instagram, the reels, and over time, maybe approximately 5 or, for example, 7 hours. And after this, over time, you feel like foggy in your mind. You feel and lost track of the time, and you couldn't feel your own body. These also directly affect our sense of the sense of the self, sense of our body. That's why it's so bad. Please be aware of when you use the social media or when you use your smartphones. So how does this happen? All of this. There are 4 mechanisms of the logging out. Firstly, overstimulation. This kind of the behaviors leads to overstimulate our brain, different types of the brain. But as you know, for example, you scroll your your social media, you gather a lot of information from different type of the fields, different types of information, and this is like a short information. You don't go on the deeply. That's why your neurons are so like tiny. That's why this overstimulation refer to attention overload, because you consume your attention capacity when you use this kind of like scrolling social media, and this leads to emotional avoidance. You avoid to feel your own emotions, because you use the social media or you use your smartphone to avoid like kind of the negative emotions. That's why you didn't feel your real emotions, and end of the day, all of this creates habits. You form your habits. That's why this leads to automatic disengagement from reality. So, cognitive effects. How these affect our brain? Of course, as I said before, these consume our attention capacity, and these also create attention fatigue. We couldn't focus on something in long term, because as you know that in social media, TikTok or Instagram, there is a rule like the short second rule. That's why the videos in their social media is so short, and this directly affects negatively our attention. An executive dysfunction, and as I said before, reduced focus, and brain becomes over 1 minute. Okay. Overwhelmed by constant input. Emotional and identity effects. This refers to emotional numbness, detachment from the real world, and the loss of the identity clarity. And this shift from the seeking connection to avoiding the feelings, because you over time spend your time in social media, and you separate from your own world, your like friends, and that's why you avoid your own feelings to feeling of the belongingness, which is important for human beings. And you just texting in the social media with your friends. You don't really, just a simple example, hugging them, which the hug is important for us, which help us to release the serotonin and oxytocin also. And this also hugging is also important for the like releasing oxytocin against to cortisol, which is the stress hormone. That's why it is important connection in real world, not in social media or in our smartphones. Then this kind of all of this creates the digital dissociation cycle. Firstly, we feel stress, then this leads to digital escape. We try to avoid our negative emotions, then we feel relief, but it is in short term, and then we we show avoidance behaviors. These lead to detachment, and again more stress, and this is the self reinforcing loop, and always this cycle continue. So also this leads to connectivity paradox, and also as we know that there are benefits and harms the technology. One of the benefits of the technology, connection, we communicate with the people from different types of the culture or countries, and information we can easily get the information, but also there are harms like the stress, overload, and the results. This creates the contradiction. Also, we need to connect and also at the same time disconnect. That's why this create a paradox. So, hey, why is this happening? Okay, 1 minute. Okay. Okay, digital harms. Firstly, time placement. As I mentioned before, we lost the track of the time, and this distracts our attention, and boundary blurring. We struggle with the boundary from the real world and between the virtual world, and exposure effects, because as you know that we exposure in our daily life a lot of information in social media, and this can be negative news, and this directly affect our brain function negatively, and this drive 1 minute. Okay, this drive the need for the disconnection. Digital disconnection strategies. Let's talk about how can we struggle with this kind of the problems. We can set some time limits. Okay. For example, reduce the duration of the consumption of the social media, and access limits. As you know that notification trigger us to check our the social media or our smartphones. It is important option. Also, the strategy when we do some tasks, when we turn off our notification, this can help us to focus something directly. And channel limits, separate roles, work and personal accounts, and exposure limits. Using the social media, control your content, what you watch, what you see, and okay. When and for whom it works. Actually, this kind of the strategy depend on the individual traits and context. Individual traits like the same control and attention. How you control yourself. How you control yourself for the time limit. Can you set some limits for yourself? This is so important. And your attention, it's also important. And the context, it's when you set some limits. For example, you do some tasks, you can turn off your notifications, and so useful for you. And it's also environment is so important for the works, this kind of the strategy. And as you know that, and as you can see, loss of control and led to time limits. And all of this information actually based on the scientific research, and I can say that this strategy is so also useful, because I also use this kind of strategy in my daily life to set some limits for myself to reduce my screen time for my well-being and also physical well-being, not just the emotional. Final conclusion. Digital use can cause emotional disconnection, and virtual escape can cause also avoidance, and it's not the solution. okay, in short term we can feel relief, but in long term it has a lot of like negative effects on our mind, on our brain, on our body. That's why we have to control. And digital connections helps us, but I can say that in final message. I don't say that use the technology less. I say that use technology or social media more consciously and use these personalized. You like using some, like as I mentioned before, some strategy to make this kind of the behaviors, for example, scrolling, more healthy for yourself and more consciously, please. That's it. I hope all of this information was interesting for you, and you will in your next days of your life, you will do in your daily life for your well-being and for your future. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your insightful talk on virtual escape. I would say it was incredibly meaningful and eye-opening in some parts. And I really appreciated how you explained digital dissociation, connectivity paradox, and all the other topics related to the impact of social media and social media life on our everyday activities. And really, it gave us a lot to reflect on. So thank you for joining today. It was great.
Thank you very much.
But it is not the end just for everyone, because right now, just to wrap up, we will have one more short activity. Okay. If I could just share a screen, I'll just show you what it is.
I
And
couldn't actually close my sharing.
okay. So there should be a button which says stop the sharing. It's red color. Maybe you see it.
Okay, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and now just to conclude, we'll come back to our presentation. This was virtual escape with the mind locks out of emotion. And next, not far away, just to finish it, this is a short interactive reflection question to close this webinar. So just for everyone, please take a moment to think about what stood out to you the most today, maybe some exact topic or some phrase, something really short. And you can write down the key ideas you remember, anything that particularly resonates with you, or what you associate with this meeting. And so here you can see the QR code. And I just want to make sure that you all have the link. I will also send it into the chat, so you can access it. Okay. Okay, I hope you all see the link. And basically, yeah, you can write whatever you want, what you associate with this meeting, what you like the most, and what you remember the most. Okay. You can put reactions if everyone got the link, and I just go to another page where you can see your answers. Okay. I just change the screen. I think this webinar was really nice because we heard several perspectives, starting with topics such as bullying, mobbing, and gaslighting, and moving on into the social media effects. Because as we know, often people, after being bullied or gaslighted, sometimes they can lock in and have a need to avoid these things. And therefore, they go into social media. And I feel like these two topics really connected to each other. And we see how well they went together. Okay, so Now I just share the screen again. And I can see that we get new words here. Okay. Okay, so we have rest from the social media, balance, digital disconnection. Okay, let's wait for a few more answers. Yeah, I can tell that all these words were really key insights that we get from this meeting. Oh, and thank you for the comments in the Zoom. We're happy that you feel safe and supported in this community. It's really, really lovely to hear it. And really glad that in this meeting you actually learn new things that before you probably knew the concept of it, but never heard about the name or the term. So this meeting was really eye-opening. It is great. Okay, we get new words here. I feel supported and safe, and gaslighting, how to handle stress. Wow. Yeah, I can agree. We really discussed it. It was really great. Okay, and while more people may be writing some answers, just to wrap up, I'd also like to again remind us all that this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, May, and a really interesting fact that it was established back in 1949, so over 75 years ago. And as Zoe said, for us, it maybe feels like it was really long time ago, but for some people, it feels like it was just yesterday. So we appreciate these times that we celebrate this month. Yeah, and all these years, all the 75 years were dedicated to raising awareness, reducing stigma, and supporting mental health for all ages, which is great. And today's meeting is a part of that important effort. So really glad that you all gathered here today. It reminds us how essential it is to stay informed, supportive, and connected. So thank you. And also today we have Ruslan with us. He's my teammate and co-organizer. So maybe at the end he wants to say a word and just thank everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to you for organizing help for leading this meeting. I also like to say thank you to Lamiyə. Thanks for being the speaker with us. Thank you for giving us so many new facts and information. And at last, thanks to everyone who listened to Lamiyə and Zoe at this meeting. And generally, thank you, everyone.
It was great. Okay, and at the end, for all Ukrainians members who are still here today, tomorrow we will have one more webinar, which will be led in Ukrainian language, and you will see more information about it in the group chat. So I hope you all like today's meetings, and thank you for joining. That's it for today.